If you're not nervous about how many people you're going to piss off, it's probably just going to be meh. Nobody's going to be excited about it either. If you're writing something so agreeable that there's no way you're going to offend anyone, nobody's going to get excited about it. And that's just the reality of content marketing. That's the reality of PR. That's the reality of human conversations, right? You get excited about something when it's polarizing, when it's counterintuitive, when it's controversial, when it's scandalous. You don't get excited about something trivial and agreeable that everyone's going to go, yeah, of course that's true. So that is kind of how we got started. And let me break down for you, if that's helpful, the 3 things that I found every great piece of content has. And then we can talk about distribution if we have time and interest. Sounds good?
Let's do it.
All right. So write this down. The 3 components that every great piece of content has. Number 1, it's hyper relevant to its audience. I'll list them and then I'll go into details. Number 2, it is interesting and timely. And number 3, it's immediately applicable. Let's dive into each of them with a couple more sentences to add some color. Number 1, hyper relevant. It means if I'm writing a piece of content for CMOs, I'm probably going to put in the title, the 3 mistakes CMOs can't afford to make this holiday season. So that if you're a CMO and you're scrolling your social feed and you see that, like, oh, that was written for me, I'm going to stop and read that. That's what makes it hyper relevant. I'm going to put that in the email subject line so you know it was written for you. Otherwise, if it's like 3 mistakes you're probably making, like, I don't make mistakes. I'm not going to read that. Of course, I make mistakes all the time. I make mostly mistakes. But you want to make them feel that this is written for them. So you've got to make it hyper relevant. Everything from the title and the hook to the actual content, show them that you know them. Okay. That's how the best salespeople make their cold calls and do their research. And that's how they write their emails. And in content marketing, it's exactly the same. So 1 is hyper relevant. 2, make it interesting and timely. What are these people concerned with right now? I'll give you an example. When COVID started, we had a lot of deals stall because customers were forced to go to their CFO with every little purchase. And then it happened again last year for different reasons. Our content team at the time was talking to a few of the salespeople and realized that was happening. And they thought this might be really, really interesting and timely for salespeople trying to get deals across the finish line. And now they have to go through the buyer CFO. So they turned around in 48 hours, a content piece called How to Get Past Your Buyer CFO. It was a 2-page cheat sheet with like how to approach the CFO and get by this. It got thousands and thousands of downloads and quickly rose to be one of our top 2 most downloaded content pieces in no time because it was interesting and timely. And then the 3rd thing is making it immediately applicable. Some companies are still writing the 40-page white papers. I don't know who you think is reading those except your competitors, but your audience sure doesn't have time for that. So even when we did a Gong Labs research and we had like 4 chunky charts and data, we broke that up. And each one of those charts became a social media post. And together they became a webinar or a podcast. And we created ebooks and created carousels and many different formats of it, but make sure it's immediately applicable. And if people want more, give them the next step that they can take to learn more and consume more of that content. But don't make it a huge commitment. Don't make it a 200-page book if you can make it a 5-minute YouTube video. TikTok is doing great with 15 seconds. This is what people want today. And I actually have the research showing that our attention span, here, I actually have the numbers. So the average American's attention span has fallen, listen to the numbers, from 150 seconds in 2004, that was 20 years ago, to 75 seconds in 2012, to just 47 seconds last year in 2023. So this is not in your imagination. Our attention span is falling. Social media is partly responsible for that. All the technology and beeps and buzzes notifications are part of that. But if you ignore that, your content will not be consumed.